I'm excited about the Rat Guard. I know Eddie Bravo kind of revolutionized the twister for MMA and
Rubber guard,
and
no,
the
for
rubber
sure.
guard. And now you're revolutionizing a little too with the
I don't
Rat
know.
Guard.
I hope I can make a small contribution to the jiu-jitsu world. The thing was, when I started doing MMA, and I played a little bit more sportive style, in my training, I was getting hit in the face a lot. And I was not able to do rubber guards so well because I have a leg injury from being in an accident. So now I try and incorporate rubber guard as much as I can because I think it's an excellent system. But for me, it was not possible at that time. And I learned, back in my judo days, I learned a move that kind of came to me very quickly, just, I guess, out of desperation. And I'm like, wow, this really works. When I have my hand here, and I'm going here, he can't punch me. And that was in 2002, and that was the 2001, 2002. That was when Rat Guard first started. I started using it a little bit, and I've been using it ever since. Developing all different pathways and things like that. And also, I teach all my students the traditional Valley Tudo guard, what BJ Penn calls the damn good guard, where you have an overhook.
Yeah.
I teach all my students the rubber guard. I absolutely think rubber guard is essential to know. And of course we do Rat Guard. The more options and the more you can transition between the two systems, between different systems is better. The more weapons, the better.
And also it's traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Jiu-Jitsu on the ground is not geared for Vale Tudo, right?
You know,
and it's not totally geared for Vale Tudo.
You know,
MMA.
that's
so yours is geared for when someone's trying to punch you, elbow you. They can't do it in the Rat Guard.
If you look at Helio Gracie in 1923, when he put out that ad in the newspaper and he said, "All comers fight me." When Carlson Gracie did in the 1950s, when Hickson and all the other guys did in the 80s, I think traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is geared for fighting.
Right.
Traditional Jiu-Jitsu was for fighting. In the 90s, sport Jiu-Jitsu got really popular.
Right, the sport took over.
And it took over,
Yeah.
and sport Jiu-Jitsu is designed to win in sport Jiu-Jitsu. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've studied under some sport Jiu-Jitsu instructors that were awesome, taught me so much, wonderful. I think Jiu-Jitsu, the world should be big enough for everybody, whatever they want to do. However, we have to understand that if you're training the sport Jiu-Jitsu style, gi or no gi, it's different when someone's punching you. You have to play differently than when you're in MMA or Vale Tudo or street self-defense. One of my friends was in a 45-minute street fight in the guard with a knife.
Unbelievable.
A knife 15 feet away. Whoever got to that knife first was going to win that fight. And it was a fight to the death. And you'd say street fights only last 10 minutes or 10 seconds, whatever. This is 45 minutes in a parking lot.
Wow.
In the guard. And he's 130 pounds and in his 50s.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Tough guy, though. But, and he won.
So Rene, explain to us, what is the Rat Guard?
Basically, it's you reach over with one arm. Pretend you're doing a guillotine and you did a guillotine really badly. You reach over one arm, but instead of going this way, you reach either behind your shin and lock his head in here, or you grab your shin as well. I have a couple variations of the grips. I have actually three
And that's pretty powerful
variations.
because you're grabbing your leg is the strongest muscle in the body.
Exactly, and you actually engage your core. It's not just your legs, your core, your legs, everything, and you put all your weight on the back of someone's head. Using your arm weight.
Right.
So it's very hard for them to posture and slam you. And if they do posture, of course you have a moment to look for sweeps, look for a guillotine, look for arm locks, and segue into what Eddie Bravo calls the London or the Lister system or Sean Williams guard, whatever you want. And we transition to a lot of different positions for them. But first, and Hicks and Gracie did this, the idea of Jiu-Jitsu is first to nullify aggression and make your opponent think he can't hit you. That's what Hicks and Gracie said. That's Hicks and Gracie's words. That's what I want to do in the Rat Guard. Nullify his ability to ground and pound me, to hit me in the guard. And that's what it's designed to do. And if you punch me with this arm, you can't reach my head. You can't generate any power to hit my body. If you punch me in this arm, you get submitted. So with the Kimura. So
would you recommend submitting someone from a guillotine with a guillotine from that position? Or?
you know, it depends. I did different body types and different techniques.
Yeah, some
whatever
people
feels
it'll work,
comfortable.
some people, yeah.
You have long arms.
So it might work.
Guillotine would be perfect for you. One of my students, Dave.
Because when you showed it to me, I immediately thought of guillotine.
Absolutely, and that's actually how I kind of came up with it, because it's sort of a proto-guillotine
yeah.
position. I mean, the one thing is, if you know, when you have someone in the guillotine, they can't hit you,
Right.
even if you're not submitting them.
Yeah.
But I think the idea is to have a whole system of attacks. So maybe you're a guillotine guy, maybe I'm an omoplata guy, maybe someone else is an armbar guy or a kimura guy. It doesn't matter as long as you're not getting hit.
So true.
And like jiu-jitsu, you always have a plan B. So, okay, guillotine doesn't work, where am I going to go? I'm going to go here for sweep, or I'm going to go here for after in our gym we go guillotine to what Eddie Brock calls the 100%.
Right.
And we go for a sweep. Or we're going, if you do an arm and guillotine, sometimes you go to omoplata. But having that attack, nullifying the aggression, and then being able to either submit with that one or transition to the next move is really what the rat guard's about.
Just curious, will the rat guard work from the mount also? Like a variation of the rat guard? I was thinking of that while I was having breakfast.
You know, I think the position is designed to block punches.
Right.
You know, there's no reason why
Yeah.
you would have to do, although my students do it in jiu-jitsu competition,
Yeah.
but there's no reason to do it in jiu-jitsu competition because it's really primarily
Yeah.
designed to stop the wrestler's ground and pound.
Right.
But there's certain submissions and neck controls that can work from any position. So I think that's probably what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
There's a certain way to manipulate the head, the neck, and I sometimes do that in mount. I think I understand what you're saying. Not quite the rack guard,
Yeah.
but that kind of head control.
Yeah.
Could be like a neck crank or something like that. Definitely, it's translatable to other positions, other places. But primarily, my goal was when I'm in the guard, I want to get hit. I want to nullify my opponent's aggression. Another thing to easily do is instead of going for submissions, and this is what Nogueira does. You know, Nogueira does the rack guard. It's in one of his DVDs. I'm not saying he learned it from me. I'm not saying that. Great minds, not great minds. I'm not a great mind, but he's a great mind. They'll come to the same conclusion. Nogueira has done it. In the UFC, Chris Carrioso has done it. And a few other fighters have done it, here and there. So Savant Young has done it. I think some of these people possibly learned it from people that I taught.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe they came up with their own. Not Nogueira. But the idea is to have, some sort of working game from there. Now the thing is with these guys, they've been doing it. The first time I saw someone other than me do it was 2010. I have a video of me doing it in a fight in 2004, in an MMA fight. And I have a video of me doing it in jiu-jitsu competition and in the gym in 2002, 3.
Yeah.
So I think I predate those guys. But who knows, maybe they were doing it too. But the also thing is, Nogueira just teaches a technical stand-up from there. He teaches a couple submissions, maybe a guillotine and a technical stand-up. For me, I have 64 pathways to go. And I think I've really burnt out the position, this is this option, this is this option. Is it a perfect position? No, there's no such thing. But it's one more weapon, one more arrow in your quiver. So you have rubber guard, you have Valetudo Damda guard, you have Lister guard, and if people think it's worthwhile, hopefully rack guard can be added to that list of effective positions.
I know your big-time fighter, Chad Hernandez, uses it.
He's never been hit on the ground
I know.
effectively using the rack guard. I've never been hit on the ground in any of my fights effectively using the rack guard. And my student in Japan, Makoto Ohashi, who's a pro fighter in Shuto, who came to New York to train with us, he's used it very successfully in pro Shuto. So we have, and Rich Collado, who's an amateur MMA fighter, used it once in one of his fights as well. So we have 100% success rate of the people who've trained under me in using it in MMA competition, and we have a very high success rate in even just sport grappling even though it's not really designed for that. But when people put you in that, you're like, what is this position? What do I do here? It's very unfamiliar.
And I think it's great for MMA because someone's on the ground and they're on their back, they're in someone's guard, the guy's elbowing, punching, and it's a great way to nullify it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you become the hammer.
Right, instead of the nail. Right.
Yeah.
The whole idea is you turn the tables of
Yeah,
the
you're
fight.
turning the tables on the guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So I love
That's the plan. And you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing, like, I like to see Fabricio Verdum has a really interesting guard, which I call the snake.
He's got long arms.
Yeah, he's got very long arms. It's another variation that we work in our gym. Javier Vasquez does something similar. So, you know, you're seeing a lot of evolution for MMA Jiu-Jitsu, which I think was really developed, you know, in 80s and 70s and 60s, but in the 90s, everybody started shifting to because of Carlinhos and his move to get the IBJJF, and that's good. You know, the IBJJF circuit is great, you know, all that, but that move and that Abu Dhabi's, everybody started training for that. I think there was a time at one point where you could make more money in the Abu Dhabis than you could in the UFC. So you saw Jiu-Jitsu take a big shift towards that sport version, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, whatever you want to do in your life, that's fine. But you have to understand that if you're playing a very open, loose, you know, kind of flowy game where you're not controlling the guy's posture, you're gonna get hit if the guy wants to hit you, if it's in the rules, and that's a fact. So what Eddie Bravo says about clinching and all that, you look at old videos of Hickson. What's Hickson doing in his match with Zulu? Clinching. You know, he's not playing the inverted, you know, double guard pull to Berimbolo stuff. And there's nothing. I'm not saying there's wrong with it. As I said, there should be space in the jiu-jitsu world for everybody.
Sure.
But I'm primarily interested in MMA and self-defense and not getting punched in the face. And so that's where I think our game can contribute, and other people's too, like Fabricio Verdum. The snake position is really wonderful, beautiful to set up triangles. There's another one, guys, does a little more gi, but the iron hook. It's like a Vale Tudo system, but you have a double grip on the wrist. All these are coming out and they're fascinating, and let's push, all of us in the jiu-jitsu community, push together to really offset the dominance of ground and pound wrestlers. You know, that's what I think we in the jiu-jitsu community need.
So maybe this week I'd like to come down with my crew. We'll like to have you demonstrate the rat guard.
Wonderful.
So we can show all the fans, all the
More
MMA
than
guys,
welcome.
and
More than welcome.
all the jiu-jitsu people what the rat guard is.
And I have some instructionals online already. They're not really clean and filmed very well, but if anybody wants to check it out, it's Radical MMA NYC. That's the YouTube channel. And you could also just go to my website. Actually, that's better. Go to my website, Radical MMA NYC. There's a whole tutorial with the rack guard and some other submissions too. And you know, if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop a line through my website. Happy to answer them.
Coach Rene Dreifuss for
Thanks,
Radical
guys.
MMA. I'm Bruce Kevo for MMA Confidential. And this is the man. Thank you, Rene.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.